What's going on, Tubies? We got another deck profile going on. This one is actually going to be one that's kind of near and dear to my heart. There are two decks that I would say would be my two all-time favorite decks. One is not usable, one's Frogs, and one is Watts. Frogs, with the banning of Substitute, pretty much went downhill. I'm not talking about Monarch variants or the FTK variant. I really love playing Frogs, and I love playing Watts. They have one really kind of common aspect that I really kind of enjoy, and that's the lock. I'm a big fan of the lock. Again, when we're talking about like the Frogs, they had the dupe lock, where if you had two dupe Frogs out, you couldn't target another Frog. I forget all the actual specifics. For an attack, the Hopper lock is is superior to the dupe lock in that, well, I guess first it's probably best to kind of look at the effect of Hopper to kind of explain this. Your opponent cannot select another Watt monster as an attack target or target them with card effects. And that's superior to Dupe Frog because it's not just attacks, it's card effects as well. It's any targeting. So basically what that means is if you have two Watts out, you have to, and you want to attack or target, you can't attack or target the other Watt. It has to be Watt Hopper. So you can't hit Cobra, you got to go after Hopper. When Hopper's gone, then you can go after Cobra. Or you could do anything that's non-targeted destruction like Torrential or Mirror Force or things like that. Where this becomes a lock is when you have two Hoppers out on the field. So basically, you have to target that one, you have to attack that one, you have to target this one, you have to attack this one. So because there's two, you can't go after one, so you're locked. Okay? So if they try to attack, they can't attack. Dark Hole, Torrential, Mirror Force, any non-targeting destruction is the way you're going to get over this. This was really easier to get over back in the day when you had Trishula, when you had when more people kind of ran decks that were after Black Rose. So this lock now is a little bit more difficult because some of those monsters and those cards see less play. Although we do have Torrentials out there, we do have Mirror Forces out there, we have all kinds of stuff to get over this. So when you look at the cards in this deck, it's all about one of two things: establishing this lock and protecting this lock. Okay, so when you look at any card, you really have to say, what does this card do? Does it help me establish, or does it help me protect this lock? Again, it's extremely important to have other monsters and have an actual win condition. But this deck is a control lock focused deck. So 3 Watt Hoppers. Deck is all about bringing out 2 of these guys and protecting them. The sidekick in terms of establishing this lock is Watt Dragonfly. Watt Dragonfly, in a lot of regards, is like the shining angel of the Watts. He's, again, a little bit more superior because even though he has to target a Watt monster, Watt Dragonfly can't grab a shining angel. If he's destroyed by battle or by card effect, Watt Dragonfly gets his effect. Shining Angel is only battle. Okay? So what happens is when Watt Dragonfly is out on the field and he's destroyed by battle or by card effect, he can bring out another Watt monster. And it can be in any position. Shining Angel has to be attack position. So Watt Dragonfly can grab himself or herself, and it can be in any position that you like it to be in. So if you set a Watt Dragonfly, it can bring out another Watt Dragonfly. They attack again, bring out another Dragonfly. So it's a great stall card. Watt Dragonfly also makes a couple other really important cards in establishing this lock viable to the deck. So Watt Dragonfly can make Infernal Reckless Summon viable. Watt Dragonfly also makes Pot of Duality viable. And the reason why I say that, because if this whole deck is about establishing this lock, you really can't do that without special summoning. But we really do need the consistency that Pot of Duality brings. So in essence, if I have a Watt Hopper, I'm never going to normal summon it after I play Pot of Duality because the Hopper's just going to sit out there. Unless I have some other kind of like a rationale for doing that, for getting them into the graveyard or something. But for the most part, that's not going to happen. Pot of Duality is made viable by Dragonfly and one other card, Photon Lead, because Photon Lead is a quick play. So in essence, if I have a Hopper in hand, and I have a Photon Lead, and I have a Pot of Duality, I can set this Dragonfly, okay? I can play my Pot of Duality. Well, I probably would have played my Pot of Duality before I set my Dragonfly. I can't special summon this turn, but I can set this Photon Lead. Set it down. So when they attack into my Dragonfly and bring out a Hopper, I can use the quick play of Photon Lead to special summon that level 4 or lower light monster from my hand, and they're locked. Okay? So, even though we can't special summon on our turn, there's lots of ways. Infernal Reckless is also a quick play. There's lots of ways that Pot of Duality now becomes viable because we don't care that we're cut off from that special summoning. The other card that does that as well, Thunder Seahorse. So in terms of establishing this Hopper lock, Watt Dragonfly is a key player in terms of making that happen. Whereas Dragonfly is the sidekick to Hopper, the redheaded stepchild. My apologies to redheaded stepchildren everywhere. Is Shining Angel. Shining Angel I only run in 2 because he is a little bit substandard to Dragonfly in that it has to be attack position, well, the 1500 or less isn't a big deal. The only monster that's over 1500 is Thunder Seahorse, and we're never going to utilize him for Thunder Seahorse. But he is a fairy. He is not a thunder type monster. We only run him in 2 because it is nice in terms of establishing that lock. The other cool thing is if we have 4 monsters out on the field, you can stall really easy, assuming you have a Hopper in hand. And they have 3 monsters out there, and you want to establish this lock. I can set Dragonfly, they can attack, brings out another Dragonfly, they can attack, third monster can attack a third Dragonfly, and I can bring out my Hopper, then I can normal summon my Hopper, and they're locked. Okay, so we got 4 monsters to deal with here. That's Shining Angel. So Shining Angel can go attacking a Shining Angel, brings out defense in attack position. You are going to take some life points, but then you can eat up 3 more attacks. If they had 5 monsters out, you could do the same thing with 2 Shining Angels and get all the way through your Dragonflies. So we only run 2. You can try 3. I don't highly recommend it. Just a little overkill. And then that is all the monsters that goes into establishing our lock. Other ways, well, partially to establish our lock as well as win condition. Watt Cobra. Watt Cobra is a direct attacker. So when we have our lock in play and Cobra is out, a Cobra can be pecking away for 1,000 while searching other Watts to kind of populate your hand. Once you establish this kind of field control with lock and back rows, and then Cobra can start generating back for you hand advantage, there's pretty much no stopping you. You pretty much, at that point in time, have the game as long as you kind of keep your head on your shoulders. So, 3 Watt, we'll just keep these guys there. 3 Watt Cobras, really important to the build. The other Watt monster, now there are other direct attacker Watt monsters, and I'm going to show you a couple of them. Some actually may have a place in your side deck. Some people actually might choose to run them in the build and take out a couple cards. I only run for my direct attackers Watt Giraffe and Watt Cobra. Giraffe is at 2, only because he's become a lot less and less important when we really start looking at what does this card do to establish the lock, and what does it do to protect the lock. Where Cobra can search and help establish that lock, Watt Giraffe does have some protection abilities. And what the protection abilities really are is if we can establish the lock and we can and Giraffe is out safe, the thing now to worry about is, like, let's say a Torrential. Giraffe's effect is that once he deals direct damage to your opponent, they can't activate spell traps or monster card effects until the end of the turn. So now, whereas I might have this Cobra in my hand, they might have some set back rows, I might be really leery of summoning my Watt Cobra in fear that they have a Torrential out, assuming that I don't have, some kind of protection or something in place. So Where this becomes good is I have my lock established. Giraffe is out safely. I can attack directly with Giraffe for 12. He's got 200 more attack than Cobra. And now in my second main phase, I can safely summon Wat Cobra. Okay, it's not as aggro. You know, I didn't go main phase 1 and attack and get another kind of Wat to hand. But in terms of playing control, it's a lot safer way to start working this lock. Attack direct with Giraffe. They can't do traps. Torrential, that set Torrential is dead. Second main phase 2, Wat Cobra. And then he can attack next turn. You repeat the same process, Giraffe, Cobra, then grab your Wat. And then second main phase, you know, bring it out. So that's Giraffe's place in the game here. We'll leave these out. Another monster in terms of helping to establish the lock is Thunder Seahorse. And I only run 1 Thunder Seahorse. 2 was a little bit much. 3 is kind of like dead in the water. But 1 seems pretty good. What Thunder Seahorse does is I can discard this card to add 2 level 4 light Thunder type monsters of the same name with 1600 or less attack from my deck to my hand. Okay, I can only use this once per turn, and I can't special summon during the turn that you activate this effect. So I can't pitch, grab 2 hoppers, and establish my lock, you know, through some kind of special summoning means. So where that has some of the same drawbacks that we talked about earlier, we have those things like Photon Lead and stuff like that that helps out. I can pitch that Seahorse, I can normal that hopper, I can set that Photon Lead, they draw their card, and lock is established. So 1 Thunder Seahorse, really good card. I only run it at 1, and I only really recommend it at 1. Other cards, whereas Valor was much more important in the days of Trishula and a really strong Black Rose Dragon presence, like with plants and stuff, he still is pretty important here. Again, we can't be so lock and lock protection focused that we forget that we could probably lose in 1 turn that we don't establish the lock either. So Valor is really kind of key in doing that. Valor is also kind of nice to give you some other options in terms of protection. So I do run 2 Valors, light type monster, good choice in the deck. I don't recommend taking him out for more Wat type block shenanigans. It's good to have that control from the hand traps. So we're gonna put that does all the monster count. We're gonna get into our